Section 3, Functionalism, the mind as computer program. Part of this dualistic tendency of functionalism manifests itself in its claim that the actual material out of which the material base of the mind is constructed is irrelevant. According to functionalism, the mind is the product of causal relations between material entities. This principle is what enabled machines to process information using electronic valves or later silicon chips. Computers, therefore, denied neurons a monopoly on computation. In other words, functionalism denied that the mind could be explained by some sort of organic magic residing in neurons. In detail, the first model for the computational mind was Alan Turing's universal machine. As interpreted by functionalism, the mind was generated by the software programs operating on the brain's hardware. Different mental states were produced by different programs. Just as Turing's computer could run an infinite number of programs, so the brain can generate an infinite number of mental states. From my experience of presenting courses on this subject, I've observed that many people find the computational theory of mind and consciousness both counterintuitive and deeply unappealing. Why then has it secured such a firm foothold within modern scientific culture? The answer, I believe, is the entrenched cultural prestige in the West of mathematics and logic, starting with the ancient Greeks. The fact that computers proved to be better than humans at mathematical tasks, such as solving equations and winning at chess, made them seem like paragon models of the human mind. Given that such activities have traditionally been seen as our highest achievements. However, computationalism is not without its critics. A number of researchers have urged a turn to biology. For example, the American philosopher John Searle has promoted what he calls biological naturalism, arguing that neurons have as yet undiscovered powers to generate consciousness. Other variants of this turn to biology include the embodied theories of mind and cognition as articulated, for example, by the Chilean researchers Francesco Varela and Umberto Maturana. All these biological approaches see mind and consciousness as a natural emergence from our neuroanatomy and physiology, rather than the brain's computational power. But, of course, these critiques have failed to make significant inroads into Carton World's secure citadel. The behaviorist philosopher Dennett dismissed all such biological theories as nothing more than an unscientific belief in wonder tissue. We can also conclude that, despite all these efforts to raise the profile of the biological dimensions of mind and consciousness, the partisans of Carton World, such as behaviorists, functionalists, and AI researchers, still have virtually zero interest in neuroanatomy and physiology. John Searle attacked the digital computer model by arguing that information processing alone was not enough to account for human understanding. Searle's main challenge to the model was the lack of intentionality in computers. Intentionality is the philosophical term for the attribution of meaning to information, representations, and symbols. To more forcefully make his points, Searle devised a thought experiment, the Chinese room, which has become one of the most famous in the history of theories of consciousness. Messages in the form of sequences of Chinese ideograms are inputted on one side of the room. The operator inside the Chinese room does not speak Chinese in any conventional sense. Instead, he has an operating manual in English, which tells him which Chinese ideograms to respond with according to which ideograms come in. This enables him to put together a response in the form of a different string of Chinese ideograms, which he outputs on the other side of the room. This response is meaningful and comprehensible to the genuine Chinese speaker on the other side of the room. Searle's point here is that although the operator is effectively acting as an information processor in Chinese, he still has no real understanding or knowledge of the Chinese language. And by analogy, this is his critique of the computational model, the model of the mind, i.e., although computers can simulate what goes on in the human mind, they have no comprehension of or even interest in the meaning of the mind's activity, which for human beings is the whole point. The problem here, Searle suggests, is confusing a simulation for the phenomenon itself. As he points out, a computer can simulate a hurricane, but the simulation will not blow you down and make you wet. Searle concludes that computers don't and can't have any understanding in a humanly meaningful sense of the word.